talking about communication, we've definitely seen some common themes, right? So we've talked a lot, and in the examples I've given, I've tried to be really deliberate about using short instructions too. So again, like, you know, it's not that this is the way you're always going to talk to kids. So when I do like tree pose and I say stand tall, okay, hands together, foot on knee, that's a really effective way to teach a skill because it's short. There's not, the kids aren't getting lost in the jumble of words I'm saying. But that doesn't mean that like when the kids come in the gym, I'm like, hi, Derek. Hi, Susie. Go here. Stand this. That. No, like that's not a thing. It's very natural. It's very normal. But the truth is, every single one of us is overwhelmed if someone gives all this verbal instruction without, that chance to see it, try it yourself, broken down, short and clear, so much better, okay? Be short, be clear, always show and say. Remember, 3 steps at a time is an absolute maximum. So really, we're getting very close to the end of communication here. Just a couple more ideas I want to throw at you. Again, this is probably more of a reminder to people, but something that we do get stuck in sometimes, so definitely worth pointing out. We have to be careful when we find ourselves saying things to kids like, don't do that, right? Don't run. Don't throw the toys. Don't blah, blah, blah. Okay, what's the problem with those statements? You're not giving what you do want to see. So it's much more effective to say things in the positive. The other one that is really, can be really tricky, and I think all of us will recognize that we've done this from time to time, is we use very vague statements. So one that is my favorite to talk about is when people say to kids, wait nicely. So think about that phrase, wait nicely, right? If I'm a kid and I've heard wait nicely, maybe I'm used to the context of standing in the supermarket lineup with my dad and, we're in the lineup and I need to kind of stay next to my dad and I need to like keep my hands to myself and not grab everything on the shelves. And I need to kind of, watch the items go down the conveyor belt and then we put the groceries in the cart and then we go. That might be my context for wait nicely. And now I show up and I'm in this totally unfamiliar environment. Say I'm in a gym. There's tons of other kids. There's people I don't know very well. And we're doing something and it's kind of like all new to me anyways. And then the coach says, hey, everybody, you should be waiting nicely, right? And I look around and there's none of the familiar context of what I'm used to for wait nicely. So it is possible that when we're talking to kids sometimes, they don't actually know what you mean. And if you catch yourself in that trap that we talked about before, we don't want to repeat, right? Because that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. This is the perfect situation to not do the same thing over and over. Instead, ask yourself, did I really tell them what to do? Right? When I say wait nicely, did I really tell the kids like the things I want them to do? I didn't, actually. There's no information in that phrase, wait nicely. So it's a really good situation to stop and catch yourself and say, okay, what do I really mean by that, right? So maybe what I really mean by that is, okay, I need everyone to stand on the blue line. I need you to keep your hands at your sides. And I need you to listen to Coach Bobby, right? That's quite a bit more specific than just yelling, wait nicely, right? And remember, wait nicely literally means something different in every different environment where you ask. Another good example would be when people say things like, like be a good teammate, right? Or, hey, everybody, I need you to use kind words. So it's possible that some of the kids in the group have a really good understanding of what that means. But it is also very possible that some of the kids in the group that really isn't a meaningful statement to them. Be a good teammate. Well, I've actually never ever done a group activity like this before. Right? What do you mean by be a good teammate? So how specific can you make that when you're teaching kids? Don't just say it over and over again and expect a different result. Be concrete. So if you've got a kid who's never passing the basketball and you're yelling, be a good teammate, a different approach might be to gather the group in and say, okay, today we're going to talk about what teamwork means. Notice how I automatically grab my trusty whiteboard. Okay? So I'm going to give them 3 pieces of information to think about. What does be a good teammate mean? Be a good teammate means we got to pass the ball. As a coach, your job is to teach the situations to pass, right? So we won't get too detailed into that. So you got to pass the ball. We need to encourage each other, or cheer for each other might be a simpler way to say that. Cheer. So what is cheer? You might even need to teach, but cheering can, in its simplest way, just be like clapping, right? We need to cheer, and we need to start. We need to start. I'm trying to get at this thing in basketball where there's transitions. So if the other team scores, then we need to run the other way. I don't mean like run out of the gym. I mean, in basketball, that's really a thing, right? So when the opposing team scores on your net, you don't stand there and pout about it. You pretty much immediately take the ball and run in transition, okay? So that could be part of what it means to be a good sport when you play basketball, or working as a team, right? Does that make sense? I can't tell because I can't see your faces. But essentially, if you're saying something vague, like be a good team player, be nice, even like use kind words, wait nicely, none of those phrases actually have any information in them. So don't be surprised if you don't necessarily see the specific things that you want to see. If you don't see those specific things, ask for those specific things, okay? You can also definitely take this concept and apply it when you're teaching a skill and you're really teaching and you want to kind of shape that skill to be better and better. So if I'm watching the kids play and, you know, I hit the ground ball and one of the kids scoops it up and I say, nice one, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with yelling nice one and being encouraging. But what could be even better is if I say to that kid, nice one, you were ready with your glove on the ground, right? Now that's a lot of language, so not for every kid, but for kids who are ready for that, if I'm specifically saying not just good one, but I say, your glove was on the ground, you were ready, nice, they really understand what they did right. So what does that do? That means that makes it much more likely that the next time around, they'll do it again. So that's a pretty basic principle of coaching. But again, it's one of those things where it's amazing how often we forget that. And parents, the same thing applies when you're coaching your children through life, right? So if you're at the playground and you're really happy because you notice that your child saw that there was somebody else on the swing and they stopped, instead of running right over to the swing, they stopped and sort of waited their turn. Instead of saying to them like, wow, I'm proud of you, which again, not a bad thing to say. You can say, wow, I'm proud of you. But if you add, you waited. Like, I really like how you stood and waited. Again, that's that specific feedback that's going to make it much more likely the next time around that they will stop and wait. If you just say, I'm so proud of you, there's a chance that, they won't necessarily know which thing they did right. So if you can specifically identify it, that does really help with accelerating learning. Here's an example. So instead of kids are all working on a math worksheet, one kid finishes early, instead of saying to that kid, can you just wait nicely, right? I can say, great, stay at your desk and take out a book, if that's something that they enjoy doing. Yeah, instead of wait nicely, look left and right for vehicles. Yes, key, right? So when we're waiting at a street corner, what do we really mean? We really mean look for traffic and go when the way is clear. Now, complicated skill, we could spend a lot of time teaching traffic safety, but basically, yes, very good. Sit crisscross applesauce. Some kids love that one, right? But that's a good example. So if we're in the circle at school or at daycare or wherever we need to sit in circles, which is for children so many places, right? Instead of just saying wait nicely, what I really mean is sit cross-legged. If this is a phrase the kid knows, it's perfect. Let's try one more. So say we're in our classroom or we're with our group of kids in a recreation program and we're noticing some issues with kids not doing the pro-social behaviors we would like them to do. And we say something generic like, you guys need to show me what a good friend would do, or be good friends, or let's be a good friend, right? What's the problem with that statement? It is completely unspecific. So let's see if you can come up with here on Mentimeter, last one of the day, what are some specific things we could ask kids to do that we really mean when we say be a good friend? So let's look at kind words for a second, because a lot of people are saying it, and it's true. Part of being a good friend is absolutely about using kind words. One thing that I have found sometimes to be very helpful, so if you're getting kids and you say kind words, we have to be careful because that can also be kind of a vague instruction. So maybe we're going to brainstorm together as a group, what are kind words that we say to friends? Now, if you ask your group that question and they can't come up with any ideas, you know that when you say kind words, it's actually not a meaningless thing or it's not a meaningful thing to say. Okay? So your kids should be able to brainstorm with you what kind words means, if that's going to be an effective instruction. So you can brainstorm, say, what are kind words, right? And the kids might say things like, here, you have a turn. Or they might say things like, I like your shirt. I like your shoes. These are things that kids say that they think are nice. So write those down, right? Have a little, do something with the kids where it's a generative activity. Together we're coming up with what does kind words mean? And we put those somewhere visual so we can remember them later. And then when we say to the kids, remember to use kind words, they have this thing that shows them what kind words are with pictures and words so they can remember.